In terms of script writing, Final Draft is the industry standard. And Celtics or Celtics is very much the same, but it's either free or very inexpensive, and they work the same. Other people prefer just Microsoft Word or Google Docs. I like Celtics or I like Google Docs. The reason why I like Google Docs is because it's online. I can work on it offline. I can share it with other people. People can comment, collaborate. I can be writing a script at the same time. And the main advantage for me is that you only have one master file, one final version of this document. So there is no room for someone to show up at 9 because version 4 said it's the call, crew call is at 9, and then the final call is at 8 on another version, or 10 on another version. So whatever is here is the master final version. This works well for small projects or things that we're doing on our own. But when you're working with a client and they want to see a script and they come from the film world, they really want to see a script formatted for script with the indentations and caps, and this is bold and this is italic. So this is a character, this is a location, this is wardrobe, this is equipment. And so it depends on which project. In terms of script writing, and this is pretty much true to anything we do, is talk to your audience, not at them. So when you use words or phrases like food tastes better with dirt on your hands, or fire is hotter in a house that you build, you're talking to the person. So the viewer is actually feeling, okay, it's talking to me. That's much better than talking in third person. In terms of script, there are different ways to break down a script. One of them is the technical breakdown. The way you break it technically is you analyze it, you read it, and okay, how long do we think this is gonna take? Maybe this is a very long take, or this has a lot of dialogue, or this doesn't have any dialogue, but it has many different shots. Or we have interior, exterior, day and night. Well, that's gonna take extra than just one location, obviously. So that's one way to analyze it. How can we maximize time or gear on location? This is the time where we look at the script, and if we look, we see, just as a oversimplification, on page 1, we need a drone. And then on page 10, we need a drone. And then on page 40, we also need a drone. Well, we're not gonna rent the drone 3 times or have someone come and fly the drone 3 times. We do it ideally on the same day. So we have to, during the technical breakdown, we take the first page, page 10, page 40, and try to combine those scenes to utilize the equipment to maximize the time or gear on location. Do I need a special camera rig? Do we need to mount the camera to a car, or put some lights on the dashboard, or do some weird movement? So we need to think about that. This is a typical script, and then you start breaking it down technically. So it says night, fortress, camp. So this is a fire, like a little fire at night. So we need a firelight, which is a light, a lamp that mimics that is fire. It looks like wooden fire. OTS is over the shoulder. So you start, this is your master shot. You start breaking into the OTS. Then you have a second. You punch in. So you move the camera closer to the characters. And so we have master shot, over the shoulder, punch in, over the shoulder, punch in. Then you start seeing the shots in your head. And then, are we going to use the same lens? Maybe. If not, what kind of lenses are best? Are we going to use one camera or 2? It depends. Then you have an insert. And this is another way to extract technical information from the script. So basically what I was doing before is the shot list, but I can organize it in a more logical way, especially for a DOP. So what's the shot, what's the subject, the description, the shot size. So medium close-up or extreme close-up or wide shot, or is it static or is it moving? What kind of equipment are we going to use? Handheld, monopod, tripod, gimbal, drone, slider, whatever. And then we also have the character breakdown. What is the character motivation? What are they trying to find psychologically? So how can we process that information and show it through the camera? In what emotional state are they? Are they dreaming? Are they drunk? Are they happy? Are they depressed? Are they calm and talking? Are they arguing? Very different. So the camera movement should reflect that. And what are we going to do to show that? Like what's going to be the approach? Where do these start and end in the script? What's the journey of this character throughout the whole script? That's part of the character breakdown. And what happens to them? So this is another way to break it. I never go this far. This is an example. I never go this far. This is the script, and it breaks it into different things. But sometimes you need this kind of information. So Joey, handsome, macho, lives across the hall from Monica and Rachel, wants to be an actor, actually wants to be Al Pacino. And when you start reading those things, you start visualizing that character. It's like, yeah, that seems like a friend, or like my uncle, or whoever, the neighbor. And then you start imagining these people, and then you start imagining the characters, which is a very interesting exercise. My recommendation for anyone who's interested in script writing is to read a lot of scripts, obviously, and have a chart like this. And when you read a script, grade the script. Like print this, and then was the plot interesting? It was okay, it was good. The production value was good. The characters were really good. The dialogue was pretty bad, and things like that. And then staple this chart to the script. And then when you're coming out looking for new ideas, or you're stuck with an idea, then you can go and find your pile of scripts, and like you're stuck with the plot. Like you have this story happening, and then at one point you're out of ideas. You don't know how to end it. You don't know how to kill this guy. So you go and find your pile for good plots, and then just read those. That's a pretty interesting way to do it. Steven Soderbergh, The Nick. If you go to iBooks, you can download for free the script for The Nick, which is a series that Steven Soderbergh shot for Cinemax recently, a couple of years ago. And not only you have the script for The Nick, but even better is that you have all the notes that Soderbergh had with the producers of Cinemax. So the producers would email him like, hey, I'm making this up because I don't remember exactly the notes, but this scene is a little too violent. Like, can we tone it down? And then Soderbergh would reply, no, because of this, or sure, no problem, or can we edit this differently, or this seems too long, or this is too short. It's fascinating because it's like being on set with Steven Soderbergh, and they have all the stats on how much time they shot per setup, how many hours editing, what kind of lenses, what kind of cameras, everything is there for free. So that's good. Storyboards are a representation of the shot list as visuals. So this kind of like dry list of medium close-up, the character, and static shot becomes more alive when you're using storyboards. I don't use storyboards. I will show you what I do instead. But it's a good way to understand the story, to understand you go from here to here to here. It's not clear how they jump from here to here. When you see it, like it doesn't really make sense. Or the ending is too weak, or is getting too confusing. There are too many characters. It is much cheaper, better, and faster to revise the story at the production stage than in post or pre-production stage. So this is from The Imposter. It's a really good document. It's a movie documentary, but beautifully shot.
It was proper film rain.
I was kind of in a wetsuit underneath the costume because I had to sit in the rain for a couple of hours or something. Yeah, lots of hot coffee and stuff.
It was a pretty nervy production experience, and we ran out of money. You know, frankly, we ran out of money. Are we going to compromise what we want to do here, or are we going to gamble that we'll somehow get away with this? And again, we just kind of backed ourselves and trusted in our instincts. And I think what we always felt was, we know how to tell a story.
The favourite thing about that scene is the high-angle shot. We needed the phone booth silhouetted against this pool of light. You can plan and you can try things out and you can go and recce and you can test things out, but it's not actually till the day when you have the lights there and actually put the camera up. And you look through and you go, yeah, okay, yeah, it works. This is what we set out to do. We've done all this work to get it to this place, and now we're shooting what we want to shoot.
For a shot like this, storyboards are important. You have a lot of different factors. You have the cabin, you have the rain, you have the shade, you have all this. It's a high angle. They were out of money. They get it once, or that's it. So in this case, it makes a lot of sense. Then Ridley Scott talks about storyboards.
A storyboard is the first look at the film. You know, where you can actually go down the board and see the film. So it's by definition, it's what is about to go onto celluloid. Thumbnails are awfully fast if you know what you're doing, and I'm a draftsman, so I can really thumbnail something down as the state of play for the day, literally as I'm going there in the morning in a car. And it's like a refresher course on what you're about to do. And everybody finds their own way, I think, whether you're an actor or whether you're a director. You find your own way going there that morning. So when you hit the set, you know exactly what you've got a target. And sometimes I don't leave it that late. Sometimes it's done way earlier. And in which case I just glance through the boards, and I may have some new thoughts that morning as I'm going in which case then there'll be notations to the board or thumbnails on the board to remind me that this may be better or that may be better.
I find that interesting that for him it's a reminder of what's going to happen today, because he writes the script, or maybe he's working with someone else's script, but there may be 18 months or 2 years of planning. So by the time he's on production and he starts shooting, he might not remember exactly what the final version looks like. So the storyboards for Scott are like a reminder of what the day looks like. And then you have this.
I do not use a storyboard. I think it's an instrument of the cowards. You need it when you do a film with the digital effects, and part of the screen has to be a live action and the other part of the screen has to be ancient Rome, for example. And yes, you have to know exactly about positioning and moving. Then it's fine. If I had let's say, storyboards for most of my films, it would have been lifeless days of shooting and allowing real intense life, pura vida, as Mexicans say, not purity of life, but the full scope of life, the exuberance of life into the day of shooting, into also the day of editing. Your films will become stale very quickly. I'm the only completely unprepared on the set. I come with the actors in makeup or costume or not, and I start to stage the scene with them and do the basic choreography. And with a cinematographer, I decide, normally I try to do it in one single shot, of course. And continuity always comes to me and they ask me, in how many shots are you going to dissolve this sequence? And I say, how do I know? I cannot tell you. I work myself into it, and I work myself into a sort of high intensity sort of vision and working in poetic frenzy. Although
So one works always with storyboards, the other one never works with storyboards. Both of them are great, both of them are extremely well known, very successful. There is no right or wrong. This is Hitchcock's actual storyboard for the shower scene in Psycho. And if you look at it, it's frame by frame, like the whole scene is there complete. Obviously, he didn't draw the storyboard, someone else did, but the idea is complete. Like, there's no misunderstanding. This is my version of a storyboard. This is what I do because I cannot draw. So when I really need a storyboard, this is the kind of like 4-year-old drawings I do. And then you have the Coen brothers, like No Country for Old Men, who are famous for storyboarding everything to perfection. A year and a half or 2 years before they start shooting, they have the complete storyboard for everything. And then you can see how closely they match the kind of boots, the direction, the blocking of the actor, the direction, the kinds of cars, the kind of truck that he's using or they are using, that the way it turns from left to right is hitting the third car. In this case, is the second car. The shadows, the movement, the kind of weapons, everything is decided. So when I remember seeing an interview with George Clooney from one of the Coen brother movies, it's like, isn't it like crazy for an actor to know exactly like how many steps you have to walk and what you have to say? And he said, like, it's wonderful. It's amazing because I know exactly what I need to do and I go and do it the best I can. For George Clooney, it works well. I'm sure other actors would go nuts. But then I work more with mood boards in a way. This is another mood board, storyboard kind of hybrid, which when I'm trying to put a story together, I go Google images and find images that are close to what I imagine. And I also add here location scouting images that I shot or things that other people have. And I start building my own storyboard, not from drawings because I cannot draw, but with images that reflect more or less what I'm trying to say. This is about the script from Back to the Future.
The original draft of Back to the Future was incredibly different than the movie we know today. Professor Brown became Doc Brown. The fridge turned into a DeLorean, and Marty McFly became more of an everyman character.
That's Calvin Klein. Oh my God, it's a dream.
In the early drafts, the time machine was a time chamber.
In the draft I read, it was a refrigerator.
He came in the office one day and he said, I got a great idea. Let's put it in a DeLorean.
Wait a minute, Doc. Are you telling me that you built a time machine out of a DeLorean?
Take a look at this page from the Back to the Future script, where Marty meets Doc at the mall. Look at all the elements we have to tag. Props now needs a skateboard, a camcorder, a stopwatch, and a Walkman. Transportation needs to make sure you have a DeLorean and a truck handy. Costumes need to get a sweet radiation suit, and Marty's puffy vest. And don't forget Einstein the dog. Eventually the script wound up at Universal.
This is it.
Where producers Steven Spielberg, Kathleen Kennedy, and Frank Marshall helped get the screenplay in order.
I thought it would only be appropriate to go back to the one guy who's the only person who had faith in it based on the material itself, and that was Steven.
Universal wasn't willing to pay for the special effects for the atomic bomb at the end of the film, so they came up with a lightning bolt. And then they used the clock tower on Universal's back lot to cut costs.
Save the clock tower!
The most famous legend about the movie is how the director replaced lead actor Eric Stoltz a month into shooting with Michael J. Fox.
He's a magnificent actor, but his comedy sensibilities were very different than what I had written with Bob.
All of us seized upon Michael Fox right from the beginning, but he wasn't available.
I picked up the envelope and I went, it's the best script I ever read.
So, did all this hard work matter? Hell yeah, it did! All these additions made Back to the Future the highest grossing film of 1985.
Roger Deakins is a director of photography, cinematographer, DOP, who he has shot a few movies that I'm 100% you have seen, like this: Blade Runner, Sicario, Skyfall, No Country for Old Men, House of Sand, Beautiful Mind, Oh Brother. Super incredible movies, icons of cinema history. Well, he's the guy.
The first day we were shooting on Barton Fink, I have the story, but I'm really nervous. I mean, I think the guys are great filmmakers, so I was so pleased to be working with them. And in America, and I hadn't been here really much by then. And anyway, so I had the sort of storyboards for the day and everything. And I go, And in prep, I went up to Joel. I said, well, you know these shots, what? We were looking at the location. We were in a theater downtown. And they had a series of shots going around this stage. And I said, well, what if, you know, we could combine these and do a moving camera shot and combine 5 storyboards in one? And he said, oh, well, okay, yeah, that'd be great. So we got a Lumar crane in. It was about the only time I used it, I think. And did this little shot. Instead of 5 shots, it was one fluid thing. It's the opening of the movie. And so what I love about working with them is they have this very thought out idea of what they want, how they want to cover things, the sort of feel of the movie. But then they're really open to ideas. And that was the first day I worked with them. So they had this day's work laid out in this theater. We wrapped at 12 o'clock, you know, in the morning, I mean, midday, because we'd done this Lumar crane shot, and that was it. We had nothing else to do.
That's the message. They plan everything to the dot, everything perfect, but then also open to interpretation. And Roger Deakins at that point wasn't Roger Deakins. It was the first time they were working with him, so they do that with other people. And I had to find that first shot, the one that he replaced, like one long shot replacing 5 different shots, and this is it. So this is the actual script and the shot.
At 3 a.m. like a cast iron wind. Kiss him goodbye for me, Murray. I'll miss him. Like hell I will.
Dreaming again.
Not anymore, Lil. I'm awake now. Awake for the first time in years. Uncle Dave said it. Daylight is a dream if you live with your eyes closed. Well,
But this is the movement.
Open now. I see the choir, and I know they're dressed in rags, but we're part of that choir, yeah, both of us. And you, Murray, and Uncle Dave, too.
The sun's coming up, kid. They'll be hawking the fish down on Fulton Street.
Let them hawk. Let them sing their hearts out.
That's it, kid. Take that ruined choir. Make it sing.
So long, Murray.
So long. We'll hear from that kid, and I don't mean a postcard.
Fish, fresh fish!
Let's spit on our hands and get to work. It's late, Maury.
Not anymore, Lil. It's early.
So that's the shot. It was supposed to be 5 shots. They did it in 1. They were done at noon. And something else that I have been doing a lot for the last 3 or 4 years is pre-shooting. And pre-shooting means we are testing the story. We're testing the script and using just a cell phone or a tablet. No lights, forget microphones, forget wardrobe, no makeup, nothing. We're just testing to see if the story works. And then I download the footage into, in my case, Premiere Pro, could be Final Cut, iMovie, whatever. And I look at the clips and reorganize. Basically, this becomes my storyboard based on the pre-shoot. So as you can see, this is supposed to be a TV. I don't know what else weird is going on here, but and then we organize. And in this specific example, we found out that 3 setups that we had were redundant. We didn't need those 3 setups. They wouldn't add anything meaningful. If we took them out, the story would be the same or perhaps better. It's shorter and maybe a little bit more clear. So that's a great way to save time and money before you start production.